Cheers, guys. Epyx911. Welcome to the Elitist Geek. I want to talk to you guys this week, just off the beaten path of gaming talk. Still technology related, but not directly related to gaming or anything. I want to talk about my experience with the iPhone 6 Plus. It has been a veritable gong show, and any marketing or commerce students out there, probably an interesting case study in marketing and advertising. This is why. So back in September, I would have said early September, my wife, daughter, and myself, there's three of us on a family plan. We have a family plan with a local, or I should say a national Canadian carrier called Rogers. They own stadiums, a bunch of professional sports teams, and a huge chunk of the mobility market. They're one of Apple's carriers. Now, I haven't talked about it much, but in my private life, I'm an IT person. I manage the information technology platform for a national company across Canada, about 17 locations. You won't find, other than the Apple iPad or the iPhone now, any Apple products. Not that I'm against them, but my gaming is pretty much PC, PlayStation, Xbox. I'm a console and PC gamer. There is gaming on the Macintosh, absolutely. Apple has gaming, but it's definitely not as widespread. You know, they inevitably get the copy of Diablo 3. They inevitably get the copy of WoW and its expansions, but is the PC Apple platform large enough to support gaming on its own? No, not at this time. So primarily my gaming is still done through the PC and consoles. So with that said, yes, I do own Apple products. I'm not a snob towards them. It's just I use what I've got a need for, what I've got a requirement for, and I'll show you here. Just swing out of the way. So I have an iPad mini. This is just your typical 7-inch iPad mini. It's the older one. It's the one without the Retina display. It's, I think it's 1024 by 1024 resolution. So it's not high res by any means. I've got the third generation iPad, the one that wasn't officially called the iPad 3, third generation. Why? Why do I have these devices if I'm not a huge Apple fanboy? Well, again, I don't have anything against Apple, but I go where the apps are. I go where the functionality is. So if a product meets my functionality requirements, meets the aesthetics, which are probably a distant second to functionality, I'm going to go with the unit. And for me personally, there's nothing on the iPad that I can't do also on the Android, true enough, but it's the quality of apps in specific areas on the iPad that makes it enjoyable for me. For example, iBook. I love the iBook reader. It's simple. It's quick. Yeah, I'm a little pissed off that they got rid of the bookshelf in the latest updates. I really like the bookshelf look, and they probably should have made that an option, an aesthetic option, rather than just doing away with it. But I love the reader itself. It's a fantastic ebook reader. I'll just show you. Just want to give you an example here. See if I have one of these units on. So regular iPad isn't on. The mini is on. So I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. So this is a fantastic book that I'm reading. It's Peter Hamilton. It's the Confederation series, I believe. All right. See if I can get a good shot here without having it drowned out. Yeah, here we go. So what I love about the iBook is you can take individual pages, and it's such a simple animation, and there's a few Android applications that do it similarly, but then they've got some negatives in other areas. What I love about iBooks is just that straightforward feeling. You know, you really feel like you're turning the pages of a book. Such a stupid thing, I know. But for me personally, it's a selling point. I was a late adopter to ebooks. I preferred the tactile, real feel of a book. But I think vacationing 2012. It was a trip to Hawaii. There's no way I was going to take 6-7 books with me. It was a 2-week trip we were doing. So this would have been 2012. And yeah, there was no way I was going to bring 7, 8, 9 different books with me to the beach. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give ebooks a real chance here. This is an opportunity. Loved it. Just loved it. I'm also the kind of guy who I've got taste. Tattoos for me, I got nothing against tattoos. I love tattoos. I love tattoos on people. I don't like tattoos on myself because I'm the kind of guy, I get bored of my wallpaper after one day, right? I'm changing it up. You know, you can come to my house 5 out of 7 days in a week. You're probably going to see 5 different desktops because I get bored of the same artwork. Now imagine that on my body. That would drive me nuts. There's probably a few things I could get tattoos of. My daughter's name. That's never going to change. My love for her will never change. You know, some runes in terms of like old Elvish script or something geeky like that. Maybe the Commodore logo. But really, that's about it. Beyond that, any kind of artwork or any kind of design, I'd get bored of it. So, yeah, so with this iBook reader, I had a smorgasbord of books available to me. I like variety. I might want to read a spy novel before noon, and noon rolls around, and between dips in the Pacific Ocean, I might want to read fantasy and sci-fi too. And that's what I love about ebooks, and consequently what I love about, you know, the ability to have multiple variety, you know, a far-ranging variety of ebooks. So let's take a look. I just want to show you, just so you know I'm not full of shit in terms of my taste. Let's go to the bookshelf. All right, so here you go. So just to give you an example, let's back up. So if it can focus here, yeah, there you go. So you've got Brandon Sanderson, you've got Julian May for science fiction, Dragon Lance, Peter Hamilton, Joe Abercrombie, you know, Rutherford with London, historical fiction, Gary Jennings. I've got a huge range of taste. So love that about iBooks. Yes, again, you get that on the Android, but it's the aesthetics, the simplicity, and the ease of use that I really love about Apple. And iTunes, same thing. Yes, I've purchased songs, but I've got a huge MP3 collection from my massive 1,000+ CD collection that I've ripped. And I've had no problem with iTunes, you know, incorporating those into my library. So while I've maybe purchased a couple of dozen CDs off of iTunes, I had 1,000+ CDs worth of MP3s going into the iPad purchase, and I like the way iTunes organizes. There hasn't been an issue. I tried jailbreaking. You know, I'm a guy who pays for his apps. I believe that developers should be paid. There's no compelling reason for me to jailbreak my device. Even video players. There's a video player on there that I use extensively that allows, you know, because one of the common complaints is with iPad, well, aren't you sick of just using Apple's format, which I think MP4, which is an Apple's format, but in terms of what they're compatible with, I say no. There's a program here, and you can see it's AV Player HD, which I guess will be on the left there, right? That plays everything. DivX, Xvid, MKV, H.264, you name it, it plays it. So, and that's a paid app. So there's no reason for me to jailbreak. So, long story short, while not an Apple fanboy, there are certain Apple products I appreciate. The iPad being one of them. And I do have an Android tablet as well. I've got an Acer A500, which I love because it's fantastic for emulation. It has a full USB port in it. It's 1 gigahertz processor, true, but it's great for emulation. The one weakness for me with Apple tablets is emulation. Android is miles ahead in terms of being emulation friendly. So love it for media, the iPad. Love the Android for gaming and specifically emulation. Back to what I started the video with, which was the iPhone dilemma. So, rewind back to September. We are 2 years into our 3-year mobility plans. So, my 18-year-old daughter, my wife of 22 years, and myself. And my wife wants to get the new iPhone 6. Which didn't really appeal to me until I saw the iPhone 6 Plus. So I thought, you know what? I wouldn't mind that phone. They're going to get the 6s. I'll get the Plus. I'm not a guy who puts the ear up or the phone up to my ear anyways. I use Bluetooth. I use auxiliary ports for music. I rarely, speakerphone or earbuds. I rarely hold the phone to my ear. In fact, I never hold the phone to my ear. So size for me, people say, oh, it's too big to hold up to your ear, or it's too big, too unwieldy. No. My main requirement was I would love one day to have a phone that could read or display the ebooks that I have on my iPad and my Android tablet in an easy-to-read fashion. And to date, iPhones have been just too damn small. You get a few sentences on the screen at a legible font size, and that's about it. So the iPhone 6 Plus, to me, was the first unit that really crossed that boundary and allows people to read ebooks on it, at a legible size, comfortable size, right? So we go in. After being on hold for a week, we do the pre-order through this Rogers, which again is one of our carriers up here in Canada. And my wife and daughter, they get to the end of the queue. Their iPhone 6 regular units arrive. I'm disappointed. I'm still 1,800 in the queue for my iPhone 6 Plus. We go to the store. We get their phones. Another 5 weeks pass. I've moved up from 1,800 in the queue to about 1,150. I'm frustrated at this point. Part of me is a little optimistic. Okay, wow, 800 units, I've moved up. By Christmas, I should have my phone. But I'm still a little concerned, so I call. So I call Rogers and I ask them. I say, the same situation I just told you guys where, I was 1,900 in the queue. Now I'm 1,100. How long is this going to take? And the store guy was honest with me. He goes, to be honest with you, since you've been in the store, I have physically not seen an iPhone 6 Plus unit. And I said, well, that's strange because that queue represents all the stores in the Lower Mainland. He said, yes, it does. Lower Mainland is kind of the Metro Vancouver, BC area, the greater city area. So if this was LA, it would cover Anaheim, for example. And he goes, to tell you the truth, since you've been in here and you got your wife and daughter the regular iPhone 6s, I have physically not seen an iPhone 6 Plus unit. The reason you have moved up in the queue is because people have canceled. They've gotten frustrated, and I don't blame them. I got a tip for you. And I said, sure, what's that? He goes, go to the Apple store directly. I said, okay. I go to the Apple store, and they say, no, you don't want to come in here because that's going to be dumb random luck. You want to use our online reservation system. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, this again. I've been through this already with Rogers, I don't want to go through this again, but I'm thinking, okay, if it means I get my phone faster, because at this point, this is another week goes by and I'm still 1150 or 1140. Maybe I moved up 10 spots in the queue. Again, due strictly to cancellations. And I say, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I go to the reservation system, and the way Apple's online reservation works is that you can only reserve phones that are actually in stock. So it's not a stock that the store's anticipating, and as it comes in, you get assigned a unit. It's what has physically arrived today. First come, first serve, right? Well, I checked. There's 4 stores in our greater Vancouver area. There's a Metrotown, Guildford, and Coquitlam store. None of them had it. So I'm disappointed. I try the next day. And there's another store that's a little further out, and I think, why not try that? It's Oak Ridge Center. So I try it. And I got to say is, to date, when I've been doing these checks, not only did the iPhone or the Apple stores not have iPhone 6 Pluses, they didn't even have regular iPhone 6s, okay? So this is day 2 of checking all the stores and not seeing any iPhones in stock when I come across the 128 gig space gray version of the iPhone 6 Plus. Here it is. Finally, the unit. So I reserved that puppy, went in, and got the phone. And you know what? All that Bendgate crap, I don't give 2 fucking squirts about it. Honestly, I'm an IT guy, and you take any piece of technology this thin, this large, and you apply force to it, it's gonna fucking bend. All right? Whether it's an SD card that's gonna snap at some point, a stick of RAM, capacitors, and you start fiddling with capacitors, they're gonna come undone. That's to be expected. So no, that didn't scare me at all. But I did want protection for it. So I got the screen protector, which I had them put on, because I'm one of those guys. I fucking suck at putting screen protectors on. Constant bubbles or pieces of dust trapped. And like dead pixels on a TV, if I see a bubble on this, right, or a piece of dust underneath, I can't fucking ignore it. I'm going to stare at that 24/7. So I'm like, you know what, dude? If you can put it on for me, that would be sweet. I would much appreciate it, because I'm just going to get frustrated. He put it on. The guy was a champ. Got that. Got a clear plastic case. I'd had an Otter on my 4S, which I managed to sell for a few $100s. So all told, for 2-year plan, this cost me just a couple $100, which isn't bad. That's for the 128 gig version. And to end my 18-minute ramble, the whole reason I got this wasn't just for gaming, because I'm not a huge tablet/phone gamer. But remember when I was talking about ebooks? So we come full circle in this discussion. This is the first phone for me that I've owned that I can honestly say makes a half decent ebook reader. And here's why. So here's that same Peter Hamilton story. See if you guys can see that. Is it focusing? I'll just turn it a little bit. Anyways, you get the gist of the text. You might not be able to read the words, right? But you can see the text on there. On my iPhone 4S, I was able to read, 2 paragraphs maybe at a time. Well, you've got 5, 6 here. You've got a full page of text. So that's just been awesome. The slow-mo, some of the other features, freaking cool. I'll probably do a decent review of this phone. I know there's 500,000 up, but there's probably some neat things I can show people that some of the other reviews don't touch on, that this is really good at. So ebooks work great on this. The other thing that I didn't mention, but why I love tablets, for media primarily, are comics. I'm a huge comic fan. Classic comics, Asterix and Obelix, manga, it doesn't matter. But you can see here, this is a comic, a Marvel comic. It's Spider-Man, and everything is 100% legible. You know, a 12-inch tablet would probably be perfect, but a 10-inch tablet is totally comfortable. I've got a a massive comic collection, and these are all comics that I own physical copies of that I then downloaded the comic book format for. And here in Canada, it's not illegal. I would say it's gray, but honestly, I don't give a shit because I own those comics. To me, it's just like if I own the song on a CD, I'm going to download the MP3 because all it's doing is saving me the time to rip it. Really don't care. Am I going to go out of my way to steal songs? No, because I believe in supporting the artists. So it's not about that. It's about having my, multi-thousand plus comic collection on a reader. So with that said, preaching aside, the moment of truth. Could it do comics? Can the iPhone 6 Plus do comics? Well, here's Conan, and I'll let you guys decide for yourself. So let's see, can it focus on that? I wish I could focus a little bit better. But the end result is, yes, it can. This is the first phone that can not only do ebooks, but it can actually allow you to read comics or magazines. National Geographic, Discovery, GQ Maxim, whatever the fuck you read. You can read them on an iPhone 6 Plus. That and the ebooks were the biggest selling point for me. There's my ramble. I'll be back with another video because it's been a couple of weeks. I got lots of stuff to talk about. I just wanted to kind of get the iPhone ramble / iPad because I've been asked that a few times. Do I like Mac products? I haven't reviewed them online, but yes, I do. Am I a fanboy? No. But I do like Apple. I respect the company. And like I've beaten to death in this video already, you can see I own 3 Apple products. So there you go. As always, guys, cheers. I'd love to hear feedback from you. Let me know, do you feel the same about the apps? Do you have specific uses for, your tablets like I do, where the big tablets are primarily comics and magazines and ebooks, etc., etc. Let me know. Love to hear in the comments below. Subscribe if you like these types of videos. I don't just do rambles like this. I also do game reviews from time to time and tech reviews, and talk about tech news that's relevant. And emulation, another thing, and even anime and manga. So there you guys go. If you like the video, like. If you don't, go ahead, do the thumbs down. But give me a quick write-up. Let me know why, so I can, hope to better myself for the next video. As always, cheers, guys.